So we will be. My name is Leo, and this is Christian Legacy, and we will be continuing our study on the seals of Revelation. Believe it or not, these first four horsemen were the first four seals of Revelation. So the question begs, what about the last three? So let's get into this. This is not very recent. I didn't have very much knowledge over the Bible whenever I first made this, so I will be giving my own input on it, my modern day input, as I know a lot more now than I did before whenever I wrote this with the Bible. So the last three the final three seals are opened in Revelation 6, and it's up to you to uncover the secrets that lie within them. Are you ready, or will your mind explode by the end? Let's find out. So, fifth seal takes place in Revelation 9 through 11. So if we can turn there, I will pull it up for you over here. Here we go. So verse 9 reads, in Revelation 6, chapter 6, verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar souls of them which were slain for the word of God, and for the testimony which they held. Verse 10. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given to every one of them. And it was said unto them that they should rest for a little season, until their fellow servants, also their brethren, that should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. Now, there's a lot of other stuff we could look into with this verse, but I believe I screen shared. I don't think I actually did. So yeah, you guys missed all that, but I said here that the first verse alone can be more than confusing the more you look at it. Especially, it says when the fifth seal is open, John gets the ability to see the people below the altar. I interpreted this as onto the earth. So if we look back at Revelation 6, verse 9, screen share. Okay. Please tell me it works. Okay. It says, and when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar souls of them which were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. So under the altar, we can interpret this as being on the earth. The altar, I believe this is the one that's in heaven. And as it's going on, he's talking to he mentions all these things that he's seeing, and John is currently having his vision of being somewhere. But I'm assuming that he's well, I'm not sure, but I'm assuming that he's getting his vision from in heaven, as that's where the altar is, and then that's where he's seeing all these things happening, like the four horsemen and stuff like that. So he sees all these people getting slain on the earth, okay? So he sees under the altar the souls of them which are slain for the word of God. So either he's like watching them be judged or something like that. It might, unless the altar's like higher up or something like that. I'm not sure. Okay. Anyways, back to where we were. Picture. Pull up the presentation. Okay. So if we go back a couple pages, but whenever he says souls, you must remember that so this entire next part is not going to be correct. So don't worry about this next part. So, but I will tell you that you're like, oh yeah, John sees all these people on the earth. I'm like, well, if he's looking at like whenever it says souls, you must think, oh well, he's looking at all these spirits, so I better pull out my Ouija boards. But so I can start talking to spirits or something like that. But I said to remember that this part is probably him seeing the people on the earth is true. But remember that some of the stuff going forward may not all be literal. But a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible and that are in these visions are representations, visual representations, uh, and are not like the actual things. Like they help us to understand things better when we have like kind of like visual representation. Like you can think of it in your head, you're like, oh yeah, the altar, the tabernacle, whatever. But in this one, I said the visual representation here is the martyrs. I don't think that's true. But he's looking down onto the earth and he's seeing these people being slain for the word of God. So, yeah. But the second thing to mention about this is don't start going in using like Ouija boards or something like that, because that's not the actual interpretation of the word souls. Souls means not like some ghost or something like that. It's talking about the body. Okay, I'm gonna make a separate sermon on this, but because I don't really have any verses right now to give you. But continuing on, I don't know what's up with this part highlighting, but fulfilled and readiness, whatever that means. The next verses talk about how they were given white robes. I don't know why I didn't quote the next verses, which represents their purity. Okay, so if we go back to this other page, so let me pull it up. Screen share. Okay. So if we go to verse 10, verse 11 actually, it says, and white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants, also in their brethren, that they should be killed as they were, should be fulfilled. So I'm talking about the white robes here, okay? And the white robes, as I'm about to say here, so we're kind of like showing like the purity of these people. It's like sinless, it's stainless, it's completely clean, and the white robes, okay? It represents purity and their faith in the Lord. But as I said earlier, God is waiting for us to be ready yet before he comes. But it doesn't say this very clearly. Okay, I would have said this earlier, but, you know, some part I didn't include in here, and me talking to you, okay? So I put, God is waiting for us to be ready before he comes. But it doesn't say this very clearly. What it does say, though, is he'll wait a little season or a short time until we have been fulfilled. Which is, as it said, and white robes are given unto everyone, and it said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled. So he's looking back and he's looking at these martyrs and he's saying, just wait for a bit because time is almost at hand. Just, he's like, rest yet for a little season. So for a shorter time, he's saying these people, just wait for them to also, they're also going to be martyrs. And these martyrs that he's talking about to these other martyrs, he's saying that they, us, our time, He's waiting for us to be fulfilled for because we, like, this, the time's at hand, and these end times, he's telling them to wait for the fellow servants, and you guys, us, living now, we may die for the truth, and he's telling them to wait until that happens, and wait till that to be fulfilled, for that to be fulfilled, and to just rest until then. Okay. So this is telling us that we don't have a long time until Jesus comes back, and we don't have a long time until we're going to have to give up what we have. And by chance, we're going to have to give up our lives for truth and for the Lord and for what we believe. Okay? Normally, we think of fulfilled as a synonym for complete synonym for being for completion. Okay? On first glance, it doesn't seem that fulfilled shows our readiness, as I said earlier. But if we look at the verses like Genesis 29, verse 21, it shows how fulfilled can show our readiness. So this may just sound kind of completely out of the blue. You probably didn't think that. Probably didn't expect me to say that right now. Just based on, why did I enter full screen? What in the world? Anyways. So what this is talking about is Genesis 29:21. So I can pull that up right now. But if you look in the verse, it said they should be killed as they were, and they should be fulfilled. It doesn't say and that. So their fellow servants and their brethren should be fulfilled. So it's waiting for them to be fulfilled, kind of. So, but we're trying to find something that tells us that what the word fulfilled here actually means. Genesis 29, verse 21. Here, by the way, I am currently making a website where you can go and you can look and you can find good Christian content, and that you can also find stuff here and on other channels that are good, and you can be able to follow along with them. So it's like, oh yeah, turn to this verse here. It can label the verses I follow or something like that. So, oh, by the way, if you want to look at this Google slideshow, it is actually in the top right corner. Remember, not everything is entirely up to date or accurate, so keep that in mind as you continue. Okay, let's look at this verse. I'll make it a bit bigger for you guys. That's not what I meant. Shoot. Okay. It says, Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. So what this is saying is, she's kind of, so saying completed, kind of, but it's like, oh yeah, your days are past, and so it's not really saying, you can't really say that your days are completed, but your days have gone by. So that's kind of more of what we're looking for in this verse. So if we turn back to Revelation 6, verse 11, and their fellow servants and also their brethren should be fulfilled. So So it's saying that their brethren, that their time will have passed. Not like, it doesn't say that their days will be fulfilled, but until they are fulfilled, as in they have really completed what they were supposed to do. So I said it doesn't really mean completed, but it's kind of saying a similar thing as the word completed. And I hope you guys get what I'm saying here. Probably gonna make it like a shorter, more cut down video though. Okay, continuing on back to where we were before. Okay, let's see what this says. Presentations. Okay, let's continue back where we were on this fourth slide. It shows how fulfilled. I said it showed readiness, but not really. That's what it's kind of implying in this verse, saying we have to wait until the brethren, these people who are currently on the earth during these end times, have done what they're supposed to do and really fulfilled their work of spreading the gospel to the world. We have to get that out there. So I wasn't entirely accurate with this also. I was saying that fulfilled would mean, oh yeah, we have to wait till he's it's talking. Fulfilled is saying, oh yeah, we have to wait till the people on this earth are ready because we're not ready yet. But in reality, being part of being ready here is to actually complete our work on this earth. So yeah, yet again, this is not like a modern thing. Can still follow along in that corner if you want to, but still continuing on. It shows how okay. In this context, the completion of Rife, but okay, yeah. Ignore that stuff. It wasn't up to date. I will make a more modern version of this, but yeah. Revelation 6, it does the same things, which is the completion of our work on earth and our readiness for his return. So in the previous verse, it's saying that he had willingness or readiness to die, and we're we're supposed to have the readiness and the willingness for him to return. So it's kind of similar, but there's more to look at, okay? Like the sixth seal. Okay. Revelation 6 verses 12 through 17. Okay. So let's switch it back to some presentations. Not presentations. So Revelation 6, and we're now looking at verses 12 through 17. So 12 says, and I beheld, and he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell into the earth, which we know the stars to be the angels, even as the fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken with a mighty wind. So it's saying that all these angels are retreating because something powerful is going on here. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it was rolled together. Every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. And it said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? So, pretty powerful verse at that, I believe. Okay. Man, sorry that I have to keep turning over to this thing for you. Okay. This seal is more straightforward. I don't say there was any visual representation in this verse, but this entire verse talks about the wrath of God on those that disobey His commandments. I made a list and order of what was to take place as punishment against those people. Did I read the right thing to you guys? Because it says, "For the day of His wrath is coming, who shall be able to stand?" Okay. So I believe. So we just read how these people were having the thing so bad that they're like they just wanted the rocks and stuff to fall on them and remove their lives, you know. But that's just part of it. But we won't be like that because we'll see truth. Okay. For my pencil. Okay. So here's a list of the events that are following. Did I say verse 7? Okay, let's go all the way back. I'll read verse 7 for you guys because it's about to show. Okay. Verse 7 reads, okay, well, never mind. So here's the list of events. There's a great earthquake. The sun is black as sackcloth. The moon is blood. Stars of heaven falling. The heaven departed as a scroll. And every mountain and island are moved. Verse 7 mentions verse 17. I meant to put verse 17. The great day of His wrath has come. You can tell that some of these are going to be a bit confusing. So let's review the tough ones. Sun's black as sackcloth. So let's see where that actually appears here because I was unable to find the verse. Okay, so this is in verse 12. It says, I beheld, and you had to open the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. The sun became as black as sackcloth, and the moon became as blood. So, great earthquake is self-explanatory, so this is what we're doing next. This just doesn't seem too difficult to understand. But I'd like to mention that sackcloth, what sackcloth is. It's this thing on the right, like right here. And it's quite dark compared to what the sun is currently. Secondly, I'd like you to see how sackcloth is used in the Bible. It says sackcloth of hair, so they definitely make it darker. This here is probably not made of hair, but either way. So we have other examples of when sackcloth is used in the Bible. In 1 Kings 21 verse 27. So I'll show you this thing here. So 1 Kings chapter 21 verse 27. And it came to pass when Ahab heard those words that he rent his clothes and put sackcloth upon his flesh and fasted and lay in the sackcloth and went softly. We also know sackcloth to be used in Jonah's time whenever he went to the city of Nineveh and he saved them, and they rent their clothes or whatever, and they put ashes and sackcloth on them, I believe. Maybe it was like rags or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I believe. But it's kind of a form of humility, So this is often you can see how it's often used after a sin, and it's when a sin is committed, it's often very shameful. We can see that we can use this info to understand that how this is used to show the sin of God's people. Well, not of God's people, but of the people. Even though we will have to endure through these things. So it's kind of showing, just like in Jonah's time, they had all done sin, so they will leave like ashes and, as I will think sackcloth. And also in this verse, it shows how sackcloth is kind of a sinful thing. And when somebody realizes their mistakes, like Ahab did in this verse, that they'll often include sackcloth and what it is. Shameful, shows sin. Okay. The stars falling from heaven. Sounds crazy, but it's a lot simpler than you think. It's not like literal stars falling from heaven. Like that's how it's described to us. When you think about it, you probably remember how Satan took a third of the stars of heaven in Revelation 12, verse 4, which is actually something I mentioned earlier. So if we can pull this up now, actually. So Revelation 12, verse 4. See, this website is very useful as it is. It says, and his tail drew a third part of the stars of heaven and cast them on the earth. The dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it were born. So, what we're saying there, we should just pull this presentation up super easily, but for some reason it doesn't work like that.
I gotta get things worked on. Like I gotta get the sermon uploaded.
But Satan didn't literally take a third of the stars of heaven. He took the angels. And that's also in the same context. But what you might not have noticed is that the word heaven is used in other contexts. Genesis 8:2 talks about how if God stopped the rain that was falling from the stars of heaven. But I'm not going to go look at that verse, but heaven can also mean the sky. In this context, we can assume that meteors or something similar can also might be falling. So, God, then what is it? Because it could be either live stream thing for my YouTube channel. So, based on if you have some sort of knowledge of the Bible, you might say that angels are falling from heaven. But that's not actually what's going on here. Since heaven can mean multiple things, and we can also assume that means sky or something else. So, we can say that meteors or something similar is also very possible. So this next one makes sense if you know what a scroll is. So heaven departed as a scroll. If you're too young to know what a scroll is, it's just a paper that rolls up. I should have put a picture there. But you must think of heaven, or the sky in this case, as a giant scroll. When you roll it up, you can't really see the words on it. So, or what's in it. So I believe that once the stars of heaven fall, the sky will be clear or empty. And on the next one, you say, what about the last seal? Or the last part of this thing here? Because there's actually one seal left, and we've only gone over 6 and 7. But this one is very long, so I'm just going to make a separate sermon about this. So if you want to see that, make sure you stay tuned for future videos, and sometime soon, okay? Yeah.